Very briefly say what was completed in this session, include the warm-up and any meetings, outline the tasks, they should only be a few sentences, no more. Discuss how you used any source material, e.g. script, image, mask, issue or piece of music. Well, we didn't have a meeting today because we just went straight into practical. So I just looked over the script and made sure that all the costumes we had was on the rack, and I had to look for Dick Whittington's shirt that he'd wear throughout the whole performance. So I used the script to outline what clothes we had and what we didn't have, and then we basically we attempted to do a full run through, but there were a few issues with like the music not coming on, a few cues from our actors, including myself, was maybe at the wrong time or a little bit slow, and the transitions probably as a whole were a little bit slow, which slowed down the whole performance. And a pantomime is supposed to be really snappy, so we kind of missed that aspect. So we basically like as a group we just went over the whole script, and we made sure we like gave suggestions on how we can make that transition faster, and so it was kind of loosely based on the whole performance, but we also went away and focused on our own task which we were given. So obviously mine was costume, so I made sure that we had the things that we had all the clothes on the rack, and made a list of what we didn't have, such as Dick Whittington's shirt. Discuss what progress you made, how you felt, how the work was developed or how it moved forward, what new work or new ideas were created or developed, how are you interpreting your roles and the scene, skills, acting techniques used. Well, the progress that I made physically was I made sure that I was as tall as I could be, so I used my posture to keep myself upright and like make my chest kind of push out a little bit more to show that I was really confident. So I think in this lesson it definitely improved, and like this was the next week which we completely changed my character, so I became American. And I definitely think from the previous weeks I've managed to maintain that posture, and obviously my projection is always quite high now because I feel like as an American I kind of have to shout, and I think the accent has made me kind of get in people's faces more and look at the audience as I am supposed to be a confident character, and I'm supposed to be like warm and like a good character. So I think my accent now and like the personality that it's given me has definitely improved like my appearance physically, and I feel much more confident with it. So I'm really happy with what I'm doing at the moment, and I'm just trying to maintain that, as well as obviously just like remember my cues, which I'm doing quite well. I think I just need to butt in a little bit more, and just not be afraid to just go that like extra bit further to exaggerate, such as when I'm trying to think about what I'm trying to think of an excuse which I can say to Fitzwarren about instead of saying that Alice left and went shopping, so I can kind of just like I can like maybe spin around or like move my head like from side to side, and like maybe like do a little walk, or and like make a lot of weird sounds, what people usually do when they're trying to think of something to say. And yeah, just not be afraid to like just experiment. And I've decided that I'm not gonna like keep going back to the script unless it's for like lines, but I've just decided to just like go by my own instincts because that's probably what I'm more confident about. And I think the performance as a whole is going much better, but it again, like the cues and transitions could be a little bit faster so that it doesn't look so the whole performance doesn't look like it's dragging. For example, when we get underwater to see Matt's character and the jellyfish, I think that transition was quite slow, and so yeah, we just need to improve that. But I think as a whole, like the characters are much better, so it looks so much more appealing from a kid's point of view. What was the effect of what you did? Well, I think probably the scenes with Fitzwarren, the way that I acted much more confidently and a little bit differently to what I usually acted when I was going on the when I was using Jack Sparrow as inspiration. I think now that I've changed to the American captain, it's made me a lot stronger in performance because I'm more comfortable with it. And when I'm having conversations with Fitzwarren or when I'm having conversations with Fish, I think the way that I'm acting now has an impact on the relationships that I have and who I'm talking to. So obviously, because I'm acting a little bit more like a bit shouty and more enthusiastic than usual, then it has a positive impact on like people like Fish or Fitzwarren, who can act even more confused of what I'm saying, or Fish kind of feels, I think like Becky might feel inspired to go the opposite way. So obviously like I'm enthusiastic and really confident and she's like bubbly in a childish way, so she's kind of like so it's making my character stand out and her character stand out because we're both completely different. We both have completely different characteristics. So I think the relationships have changed and it just makes our characters stand out more. And I think that's what a pantomime's about, because it's all about like different, there's like the good guy, the villain, the funny character, or characters like using the dames as an example. And how effective was the work you completed today and what went well, less well? I think the lesson went well because, as well as focusing on my character, this was the lesson where I probably focused more on my job responsibility, which was costume. My character, because as I said before, I grew more and more confident with it, and this was like kind of the third lesson as kind of my new American character who's quite cheesy. And since I was much more comfortable with that than the Jack Sparrow inspired character, I just thought more about what I was going to do with my movement, and especially my hand gestures, since they kind of describe what I'm thinking. So for example, when I'm trying to think of an excuse, I use my hand gestures a lot, and I kind of like use my head to kind of turn to the audience and to Fish and to Fitzwarren again. So I definitely thought more about my hand gestures, and just to show that I'm not a subtle character. I'm really big. I'm enthusiastic about everything, and it kind of shows, because I'm so loud, it shows the audience that it makes the audience more aware that I'm not very bright, since I kind of big myself up with my physical expressions and how I stand, but really I don't have any I don't have a proper point, and I don't really have that much common sense as I think I do. So definitely I thought more about how I can make the audience see my intentions, and just to make the character feel more natural and funny. And for my job responsibility, it went quite well, that lesson, because it was because we found a oversized shirt and a waistcoat for Joe, which was well needed since it's the week before the show. And then I found my own costume, which was very easy because I knew what I wanted. Because as I'd already decided to wear the yellow wellies, I bought myself some beige chinos and a yellow polo neck, which was quite modern, but it didn't really matter since I knew I was already going to be wearing this big blue blazer, which looks like a head sailor's blazer. So